grandchild. And if they're not willing to abide by that, then that is on them, because for too long, many young women have had to carry the responsibility of emotionally kind of like coddling their parents in a way that doesn't serve them and doesn't serve their children and doesn't serve like the life you want for yourself. If you're like, let's look 20 years in the future, right? Your child's all grown up. Sharmaka's like 26 years old. He's an adult man. He has his own life going on. And he's going to look at you and be like, wow, my mom at the end of the day really did her best to emotionally like nurture me and care for me and create a safe and healthy environment for me. And I'm always grateful for that, because the older he gets, he's going to start comparing your mothering to your mother's mothering. And your mom's not going to like what he has to say. So the older he gets and the more he starts to actualize, because people don't realize the formative years for a child is in between ages 5 and 15. Once he's 15, he's clocked her T, because you've created a healthy environment for him to be an open thinker, for him to be a critical thinker, and for him to not have fear of judgment and fear of retribution for speaking his mind.
You know
So
what breaks
once,
my heart though, Hassan? It's the fact
Mhm.
that I, so my mom broke my sense of self, obviously, with the borderline. I don't have a sense of self. I have no concept of myself. If you tell me I'm a good person, I'm very less likely to believe it. But if you tell me I'm a horrible person, I'll very much believe it. Um, and also, I don't have a good radar. I have become very susceptible to narcissists and abusers and manipulators. And it's just been a series of very unfortunate events. You know what I mean? And I've come to the realization that my biggest fear is actually having to come to terms with my mom being narcissistic. Like it's because I don't think you guys understand the psychological warfare that is being in close capacity or being in a close proximity to a narcissistic person, because there's bouts of them being so good and you're just like, oh, this must be who they are. And then you see them being so bad, and you're like, oh, wait, this must be. And you're constantly conflated between who is this person? Like, was that you when
Mhm.
you're being nice? Is this you when you're being mean? And it's like it's so hard to know. Like, is this actually an evil person that just hates me? Or are they just having belts? And then I attract the same people in my relationships, bro. Every man that I've ever been attracted to reminds me of my mom. And I literally tell them they first see things about me that they love and they admire. Then they get me. Then they start nagging me the way my mom does. Then they try to put me down the way that my mom does. Because when they first met me, they already knew I was out of their league. When my mom sees me, she knows I've done better than her. So what does she do? She tries to put me down. She tries to say little things to bring me down, to make me feel like I'll never be greater than her. And obviously, I'm still a child at heart. So I take what my mom says to heart. Like, I'm thinking, wow, like maybe I'm not doing the best that I can. Maybe she is right. You know what I mean? And then I look at the men that I attract as well. And it's the similar thing where they see me, they know I'm better than them. They, they, they breadcrumb me, they bring me in, they wheel me in, and then they try to crush me. So I stay there and I never think that I'm better than I actually am. Same way my mom does. And I'm realizing the only way I can stop attracting these men is if I cut her off. She's the reason why I'm attracting these niggas. Because if I let it fly with her, I'm gonna let it fly with everybody. You know what I mean?
You know, you just said something really interesting that I think because of therapy is something that you've realized, and I'm happy that you have. It's that oftentimes the reason why people, and this is why people, I always tell people to not judge people who are in relationships that are emotionally unstable, or relationships that are emotionally abusive, because the reason why the person stays, and oftentimes especially in romantic relationships, so we're going to start there and then work our way back to like our childhood and our parents, right? In romantic relationships, oftentimes men will reel you in by love bombing you and treating you so well and being so kind and so compassionate and everything. Basically, he's like freaking charming for the first like what, 6 months, right? Then 6 months in, you start seeing small things like the criticism, the nagging, the kind of like picking at your self-worth. And people with specific personality, again, we're not generalizing, so before people are in the comments, look, Somali corner is already there. Some men. We are not talking about all men. I hit dog gong hala. But but again, this is not everyone, like I said. And there are women who are like this as well, by the way, because narcissism doesn't have a gender. But like I said, we're going to reel our way back to parenting. Because in parents, it's usually the mom. But why people are stuck in these relationships, whether it's mother-child, whether it's a romantic relationship, whatever it is because you always, when you're in the bad place, you think about how good this person was when they were good, right? You start thinking about how the good times were amazing, how happy you were, how secure you were, how loved you felt, how emotionally like thriving of the environment it was for you. And this is a crazy thing, right? The people who are putting you in this situation, they know that they can't constantly be nice and they can't constantly be bad. It has to be a mix of hot and cold in order to be able to maintain the emotional control that they have on you. So when you do go through bad times, or whenever they are mean or make rude comments or say hateful, abusive things to you, it's going to be followed up by a grand gesture of apology. And it's going to be followed up by all of the great things that you remember about them and all of these great qualities. So now it settles you in the sense that you're psychologically like, oh, see, they're back to their normal selves, or they're back to their good selves. And this is the thing. They don't want to create an emotionally stable environment for you because they want you to be on eggshells. That's an unfortunate truth, but they want you to constantly be guessing their next step. Are they going to be, which version of them are you going to get today, basically? Are they going to be good? Are they going to be angry? Are they going to be sad? Are they going to be confrontational? And these many different versions of themselves, they are fully aware of it. That's a hard truth. They are fully aware of when they are treating you horribly. They are fully aware of when they're love bombing you and being super nice and super compassionate. And that just goes to show they have the ability to be either or, but they choose to be both because they know that that's the best way to emotionally manipulate you. Because when they are in a good mood and they are asking things of you and they are kind of like putting you in a position to be of service to them, because unfortunately many times the emotionally manipulated and emotionally like abused person is the person who's of service to the narcissist. When you are of service to them and you are something that they can use or manipulate, they know very well that their anger is a bargaining chip. Like, what if they get angry at me? I don't want them to be angry, so I'll do this to maintain the status quo of happiness and peace and kindness and stability in this relationship, whether it's with my mother or my father or my partner. I'm going to be at my absolute best behavior at all times. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to make sure that they never like want for anything, just so they are not in a position where they are now causing me emotional distress or angry or even sad, because now they reach a point of control where even their sadness feels like your burden, right? Seeing them in emotional turmoil makes you like feel like emotionally like unstable, because you're like, what can I do to make you feel better? What can I do to put a smile on your face? Because now their happiness is dependent on you. And oftentimes this is why the person doesn't leave, because it's a never ending cycle of being happy and being loved and being cared for, and then being treated like absolute crap. And then once they realize that you are like almost at your like level with taking their shit, they're like, oh no, I have to reel you back in. So I'm going to be nice again, and I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to be sweet. Hoy macaan, maxaa u baahan tahay? Maxaa rabtaa? Kamiyaan ku qabtaa? Hoy macaan, waan ku jeclahay, waan ku duceysan baa tahay. And like in a partner way, it's like, I love you, I care for you, you're the love of my life. I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to have like babies with you. I'm going to build like a life with you. And it's like they do these, like Mars said, it's like breadcrumbing you in a way that is just enough, but not too much to a point where you feel stable enough to start thinking like, oh, well, this is healthy, because it's
It's
not
like
healthy.
every time you think you're close enough to hug, they slap you back.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're just like, ow, 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 and you stay there for too long, and you're just like, I'm gonna turn around and leave, they grab you back. And then you try to come back in, and it's a never ending. Oh my God, it's such a push pull. Oh my God.
Exactly. Kumaya, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is hey, by the way, it's been a while. It's so profound, this conversation. That's why I said you guys need to link up and start a podcast or something. You have to figure out a way to do it, because these conversations are so needed in our community. your internet big sis. I'm so glad I found you. I'm also getting my
Oh, love
license
you.
as a registered therapist early next year, and I can't wait. Sorry, but I
Good.
interjected.
No, go ahead. Love that for you.
Yeah, thank you. This is why I feel like a lot of we need to have a lot more Somali people who are therapists who understand these things, honestly. The reason why I came up, I'm very busy, but I will be here with you for a little bit. The reason I came up with, when Omaya was explaining this whole concept of when you get close to them and then they hit, like, they hurt you. And then now it's like, walu afufa, you feel like, okay, the wound, like, it's like a mouse ku qaninayo, but then marku ku qanino ku afufa, and then like ku si qanina haddana. There is no better explanation for what it's like to have a narcissistic parent. I also have a narcissistic parent. And for the longest time, it was the hardest thing I've ever have to like wake up to and understand and accept, right? And the reason why I came up is to give like a tip, something I use that really, really works for me in how to deal with the hot and cold nature of a narcissistic parent. The first thing that you have to do, this might sound very, what is it called, extreme for the people in the comments, is kabahada awooden, but you have to detach yourself from this person emotionally, right? You can keep a relationship with them that is from afar, which a lot of times I've spoken to so many therapists that say it's sort of okay for you to have that relationship with them from a distance. But what you do is, once you learn to detach yourself completely, emotionally, which means anything they say moving forward, if they, like, for example, the way you talk about your mom talking to someone, and like how a girl, and she said all those hurtful things. When you learn to detach yourself emotionally and not expect anything from them, and realize that they are capable of doing anything to you, then it protects you from the hurt. It really does. What it does is that, for example, right now for me, I'll give you an example. My mom, if she goes out there and slanders me or does the worst things or whatever, it's not going to get to me. It really is not going to. It will get to me a little bit, but then it's like, I'm expecting this. This is who you are. You are capable of this because you have not shown me enough to trust you to say, my mom is never capable of that. She will never do that to me. She has shown me enough things to show me that she is capable of it. So what happens when I see her do it? I'm not going to get hurt by it. I know and that is the hardest thing to do, because you really have to grieve that relationship. You have to bury that relationship and its potential and everything. Because here's the thing with narcissistic parents, they will never change. Never, they will, that's who they are. They're going to probably die like that. So what you have to make peace with is the fact that this is who you have as your parent. I'm getting chills saying this, but this is who you have as your parent, and you have to accept it. You cannot, for the longest time as kids, what have we done with narcissistic parents? We